Hello everyone, we are here in a new setup, which is probably going to be the same setup for like the next 10 years, assuming I'm still doing this for that long. I kind of hope I am. Yeah, we got a new house, so we're super excited about that. We'll probably be experimenting with the setup for these podcasts a little bit, because we're not quite sure if we want to go back to doing this on the couch or if we want to try and set up another table, but it kind of depends on how far I can get my equipment to reach. But Happy New Year to everybody. Here's to hoping this year turns out a lot better than the last one. But I gotta say, we actually had a pretty good year last year. We had a good run, you think?
Yeah.
I mean, we got a house. Got some new family members. We had a lot to be thankful for, really. Mm-hmm. I know 2020 was kind of rough for everybody, but I'm hoping there's some stuff that you guys can look back on and be like, hey, this was kind of cool, including the start of this story. So let's see what you guys had to say about the last chapter that I released in 2020, which ended with Kurai coming face to face with the guy that killed his uncle, and is one of the primary reasons for him becoming a hero.
Alrighty. Joe Clone, I really like this chapter. It's great to see your creativity flow more freely. So, Banshee, I like her. Reminds me of Urza in a way, just like how she's interacting with Kai here.
I need to do a sketch of her, I think.
That would be cool. Yeah. I'd like to see what she looks like, too.
Alright, I'll have to get that up. Maybe I can get that up by the time I release the physical chapter on fanfic.
Mm-hmm. Cool to see you making more characters not in the show. These villains are quite a colorful bunch. Más y menos. And I'm interested to see how you are going to use them.
I was honestly trying to think of like some cool like sidekick villain, like nothing that would make a major problem. And I don't know why Masameno showed up in my head, but I'm like, you know what? That sounds like it could be a villain duo just as easily as a hero one. So why not? Masamenos run with the Mexican cartel in this world. I was showing my kids Teen Titans a few weeks back. What do you want from me?
All right. Please keep your... Oh, sorry. Kai and Gang Orca seem to be getting along well as students and mentor. I hope Kai doesn't mess up everything going down with this needle mouse guy. Like, I'm with Orca on this. Please keep your cool, Kurai. Merry Christmas, Mataras. I hope you and your family have a great one.
We did have a great one. Thank you for that. All right. So far, it seems like everybody's thinking that Kurai's going to waste this guy. Yeah, so let's see what everybody else says about that.
Guessed. Unfortunately, I'm guessing that this means that Kurai is never going to see Stain because he's in a completely different location than where the hero killer is. By the way, how far will Kurai get into the My Hero Academia series before he dies? Ballpark, please?
So for the first part of your review, no, he's not gonna have a face-to-face with Stain at all. I have the timeline right in my head. This is happening like a few hours before the events in Hoshu City, but you know he's kind of busy right now. There's no real way for him to be like, okay, I'm done with this raid. I'm gonna go help out my friends over on the other side of the country. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, no, he will not be involved in the Hero Killer Stain events at all. And as for when Kurai is gonna die, no, I'm not gonna ballpark it for you. You have to read the story to find out when that's going to happen. I'm not giving you any spoil. What? No! No!
See, I know. Nobody else knows. No. All right.
Sorry, man. I hope you keep reading, but I'm not giving that up.
All right. Fairy Sing Girl. LOL. I love the hero names part when everyone in class 1A all gets to pick their hero names. I thought Kudai's name was awesome that he did for himself. And now, let the internships begin. I'm curious to see how Kurai will do while interning under Gang Orca.
She tends to post like a chapter late, I think. So that's still from chapter 18. Mm-hmm. Well, I hope you're liking. I'm hoping that she likes the current chapter. Yep. And I hope that they'll like the next one even better. But we'll see how that goes.
All right, Light Hero Kaiser, great chapter, mate. Oh no. Shit is about to go down, and I hope Kurai does what's right, but I think that might be unlikely. Blade Hero Light signing out.
And we have another one who thinks that Kurai's gonna waste this guy.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Oh boy.
Well, Thank you, Majoritis. He's always going to be Majoritis to me. Sorry.
Sorry, man.
Silly Kita. Ah, dang. Having read a number of your previous works, I can tell this is where we're about to say goodbye to good boy Hikari. I was hoping it would last a little longer, but you never seem to want to give your characters a break in terms of challenging them. And so far, other than the near-death experience with the Nomu, Hikari hasn't met a challenge that he couldn't conquer. This, on the other hand, I don't see going so well. I suppose Mina could come to his rescue before he does something dumb like Ida, but that seems like it'd be too much a repetition of the original for your taste. I think that whatever he does next, he's on his own in terms of his actions and consequences that will come with it. Do you want to pause there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you didn't have to read the chapter, but yeah, I mean, I wanted there to be, I suppose I can say this without spoiling anything for the next chapter. It's like, I want there to be parallels between Ida and Kurai's journey to becoming heroes, but I don't want there to be, repetitions. Because then what's the point? It's just the same characters with different names. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Wait and see what. I mean, you'll get the answer here in a few minutes because the audio chapter's coming up here. But you have to wait and see what happened with Kurai and what he decided to do.
All right. All of this said, I'm very much enjoying the internship arc that you have created. I like Hikari getting to work with his favorite hero and the student-teacher relationship that has formed between them so quickly. It's cool that Gang Orca gets to work with someone who admires him so much. Because, as I understand it, even though he's a really strong hero, sorry, my eyes are like watering.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I do this every week. I'm sorry, guys. I did not expect Mina... strong hero. The reason he is not more popular is because he looks really scary and kids tend not to like him. I might be wrong on that, but that is what it seems like to me. I did not expect Mina to come in for a team-up, but it's kind of cool to get to see them work together in a professional setting and test the waters for that area of their relationship, which seems to be going well so far. Hopefully that will continue past the next chapter after Hikari takes whatever manner of revenge he does against Needle Mouse. Though I wouldn't put it past you to hit him with a double whammy that would come from a breakup and a disciplinary measure from UA/Mr. Aizawa.
I love how he singles out Mr. Aizawa.
Fingers crossed that it doesn't happen, but your track record speaks for itself. Damn, now I'm bummed. Give me the next chapter so I don't have to keep worrying about the
Mirai.
Mirai ship.
That's the ship name that people came up with.
Gotcha.
It's funny because Mirai is the Japanese word for future, I think.
Oh, interesting.
But that's just how their names ended up. And I like it.
I'm about it.
I'm about it. Man, everybody, man.
They just think you can't branch out.
I mean, to be fair, I haven't really done that before, so. I mean, well, gosh, I don't know how to feel about this.
It's okay.
There's like nobody that has any faith in that he'll do the right thing. Whatever.
See, they know you don't like writing Gary Stews.
I don't like writing Gary Stews. I really don't. I mean, I don't know. Could I kind of get close to that? Do you think?
At the beginning of the story.
He's
starting to show some imperfections, but I think that was a complaint that I saw some people was that he was a little too much of a goody two shoes.
A little bit. But I feel like the whole goody two shoes things could be interpreted as a flaw in and of itself. Mm-hmm. I mean, best friends with Ida. It's
but
gonna have a little bit of a stick up your butt.
Got to get a little bit more into the story.
I think even Gary Stews have their flaws. The problem is the authors that can't bring those flaws into play in the story. If you get what I mean. Yeah. Because like nobody is perfect. Mm-hmm. Everybody got something that they'll do wrong. It's just a matter of presenting them with a set of circumstances that will bring it out. Mm-hmm. And we've seen a little bit of that, but I think we're about to really see, like Hikari met up with Endeavor and he was like ready to punch this guy. Mm-hmm. Forget that he's the number 2 hero. Now he's really getting himself in it.
It's true.
So we'll have to see how he does with that, which I guess we can do now, because, man, you kind of bummed me out, man. What the heck? That was, no faith. No faith at all.
Sad. I'm gonna slouch like you so I look shorter than you.
Alright, guys, enjoy the audio chapter. We'll be back to break it down for you after the fact. Shattered ideals. Kurai could feel the rage surging through his veins so clearly that his blood cells might have well been the carrier of the deadly disease called revenge that threatened to tear him apart. Never before had he genuinely wished for someone to die, much less by his own hand, but it was all he could do in that moment to keep himself from ripping the villain apart, limb from limb, never mind all the guns pointed at him and Gang Orca. The subject of his hatred, the villain called Needle Mouse, was currently laughing himself silly. "You're that pig's nephew?" He wheezed merrily. "Oh, this is too funny!" With a click of his needle-covered fingers, he pointed at Gang Orca, who had been staying quiet, and said, "Hey, I know. Why don't we see if you and your uncle dad the same way?" "Ikari, move!" Before the metallic projectiles could be fired at the student, Gang Orca moved with a speed that belied his bulk, and tackled Kurai to the ground, out of harm's way, while bullets and needles flew overhead. The boy felt something heavy cover his head before a high-pitched sonar pulse disabled the villains around them. Well, all but one of them. "Nice try, Orca!" Needle Mouse laughed while the men fell at his feet, numbed to the point of immobility. "You know the resonance frequency of a normal human, but with heteromorphic quark like mine, you can't use the right sonic waves to cripple me." The pro-hero slowly got to his feet, wary eyes searching for any indication that the villain would be about to make a move. Kurai stayed where he was, but he had energon going throughout his body at maximum strength that his costume would allow, ready for the signal that he could put down this villain like a rabid dog. "You may have been angry, Kurai, but you didn't act on your impulses. Heroes aren't allowed to hold grudges, and by refusing to allow your passions to guide you, you've shown that you will be an honorable hero one day." Kurai paused, shocked at the fact that such a memory chose now to resurface. He had no idea why Ida's words came to him in that moment, but with those words now firmly planted in his conscience, others came to him in the voices of his friends. "The best part is that you managed to hold yourself back when nobody was watching, which means that whatever you did or didn't do in that moment, it shows who you really are when it comes to dealing with your hatred." Was Mina even right about him? He clenched his fist as he waited for the tense standoff above him to play out. Some hero I'd be, starting my hero career with a revenge kill, he thought bitterly. "As we compete here today, I ask that we all remember those that have gone before us, and remember the sacrifices that they made to give us the world that we have." His own words echoed in his mind, taunting his fury with the irony of the moment. Kurai felt his face growing red with shame as he realized that his uncle would have never stood to see him murder someone for the sake of anybody. That wasn't what his family had stood for the last 3 decades. It wasn't justice. Shutting his eyes in humiliation, he thought, "Can I even call myself a hero after this?" "Hikari!" Gang Orca's shout snapped his gaze upward while the big pro moved in to grapple with the smaller villain, ignoring the metal briars that were cutting into his thick flesh as he sought to force the man to submit. "This is no time for an existential crisis. I'm guessing this guy's caused you some grief, but you need to pull it together and be a hero right now." Needle Mouse, smaller though he was holding his own surprisingly well, though Kurai imagined it would be hard to get a secure grip on a body that was covered in razor-sharp metallic quills. Grinning madly at the two of them, he cackled, "Get it together, bro! If you're begging a child for help, I find it hard to believe that you're really the number 10 hero. Besides, what's he gonna do to someone like me, the man that killed his family?" Psst. A large yellow bolt struck Needle Mouse in the face, causing him to stumble and giving Gang Orca the purchase that he needed to grab up the villain and smash him into the ground with a suplex, winding up with a face full of needles in the process. At first, there was no movement from either of the men, but then the pro-hero let out a pained groan and released his captive, shoving the stunned man off to the side to reveal his face and chest to be covered in metal barbs. "That," the large man said tiredly. "He'll do that to you." Glancing over at Kurai, he added, "Make sure he stays down." "With pleasure," he wanted to say, but instead he went with, "Yes, sir. Sorry I lost myself for a moment there, sir." "It happens, even to the best of us." The large man grimaced as he began to pull at the needle surrounding his mouth. Fortunately, he had avoided getting stabbed in the eye, but one look told the Kurai the man was going to lose a serious amount of blood before the day was over. "You never told me your family had a history in crime fighting, Hikari." "It didn't seem relevant to my training, sir." Kurai replied as he prodded the older villain, who remained still. "I had no idea that any members of the Pentagram family were loose, much less that I would run into the one that killed my uncle." Some of the other villains groaned pitifully, but Kurai knew they wouldn't be moving for a while either. Gang Orca's sonic blasts were far more potent than a lot of anesthetics that were used to numb a person's body, even with modern-day science. Fair. Gang Orca replied as he pulled out another bloody needle with a frown. As he stared at the tip that was covered in his blood, he muttered, "This is a barbed. Not good. I'll radio for an evac." Kurai volunteered as he tapped his comm button. "Hello? Anyone on Team Beta? This is Hikari. I've got a situation here." Gang Orca nodded slightly and stopped pulling on the metal pieces embedded in his skin. "I read you, intern. What's happened?" Recognizing the voice of a sidekick named Hermes for his winged feet, Kurai replied, "I'm in the southwest quadrant of the building. I need a medical evac for Gang Orca." "Wait, the boss is down?" Hermes all but shouted, sounding alarmed. "How did that happen?" "One of the more experienced villains got the jump on us," Kurai explained. "Orca got stabbed by a lot of metallic needles, but they're barbed, so we can't pull them clean out. He's conscious for now, but he's losing blood." "Got it. I'm on my way of backup," Hermes replied. "Don't move from your position if you can help it, and keep him talking. If he falls asleep from blood loss, it's going to be a lot harder to wake him up again." "Understood," Kurai said right before the communication ceased. Turning to Gang Orca, he said, "They're on their way." "Good," the large man replied, moving his mouth as little as he could. "Restrain Shibuya and his lackeys, and keep an eye out for any others that come this way." "Yes, sir." "And Hikari." The boy turned around before he could move to use a restraining device that had been given before the start of the raid, looking at Gang Orca, who was smiling slightly. "I know you could have made that a kill shot. You did well to exercise restraint." The rest of the raid was completed without too many problems. Since Gang Orca was Kurai's direct supervisor, he had retreated along with the pro hero once the med team showed up. From there, he was instructed to stay with Banshee and Mina, where he did what he could to help the wounded and frightened children. For a little while, he almost forgot the moments where he had come close to crossing the line between hero and villain, but even so, he was more subdued than usual. "Feels like I should have a weight lifted off my shoulders," he mused tiredly in between administering burn medicines to a couple of kids. "I helped bring my uncle's killer to justice. So why do I feel so empty inside?" His melancholy must have showed, because as soon as he and Mina were allowed to take a break inside one of the transport vans, she walked up to him with a water bottle and a concerned look on her face. "Here," she said as she handed him the drink, which he accepted gratefully. "What happened in there?" He drank deeply from the plastic bottle, trying to put off answering for as long as he could before he was forced to reveal his weakness to his girlfriend. He didn't bother trying to hide that he was rattled or deny that anything was wrong. He knew Mina would figure it out eventually. When he had swallowed as much water as he could in one go, he lowered the bottle from his mouth and stared down at it, not wanting to meet her eyes. "I crossed a line, Mina," he said in a subdued tone. When she said nothing for a moment, he sighed and elaborated by asking her, "Do you remember what I told you about my uncle? How he died?" "Yeah, that's not something even I can forget in a hurry," she said with a forced laugh. "What does that have to do with today, though?" "The guy that did it is the one that put Gang Orca in the hospital," he said numbly. "We ran into him out of sheer dumb luck. And I crossed a line that heroes should never go near." "Wait," Mina asked as she took a step back with wide eyes. "You didn't waste the guy, did you?" "Please tell me." "No, I only knocked him out," Kurai said with a slow shake of his head. "He's back in police custody, along with the other members of the smugglers' ring." "Wait, then how did you..." "Mina, I wanted to kill him," Kurai interrupted her, his voice bitter. "I wanted to rip his arm off, scorch the insides of his body with my energon. I wanted him to suffer for every minute of my uncle's life that he stole, and then some." Burying his face in his hands, he mumbled, "What kind of hero wishes for something like that?" There was a long silence before he heard Mina move, and he was surprised when he felt her arms go around his back as she told him, "You're human before you're anything else, and that includes being a hero. I can't say that I know what you're going through, but I know that if a villain ever did anything to hurt my parents, or even my stupid brothers, I'd probably feel the same way you do about the guy. It's not evil to feel these things, Kurai. It would be evil to act on them, but you didn't, and that's what counts. At least, that's what counts in my book." "But what if someday..." "Don't think about that right now," she told him as she squeezed him a little tighter. "I know you're all about planning for the future, but you can't account for everything that might happen, you know? Maybe Akururi, but definitely not you or me." There was a smile in her voice, and despite himself, her declaration made him laugh just a little. "You're absolutely right," he said with a weak chuckle. "Akururi knows everything, as he so likes to remind me often. We should totally ask him what I should do if I start holding grudges against villains." "Well, I may not be a super genius, but I think I know what he'd say," she giggled back. He'd say that you're silly for wasting your time worrying about what might happen, and to start learning from what you've already done. You portray him a lot more politely than he actually is, Kurai said as he lifted his head to look at Mina while she pulled back from him a little. Thank you. For what? She asked him with a big grin. For being patient with me, he replied with an embarrassed smile, and for cheering me up. If you want to say thanks, then I know what you can do, Mina said with a sly wink that made Kurai pale again. Please no, he begged. Say it, she said with an evil grin. Do I have to? Hey, I have to be cheerful for the both of us, so this is the least that you can do, she told him. Come on, do it! Do it! Do it, 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 do it. Do it. You enjoy this way too much, he grumbled as they both stood up, his face flaming red as he looked down at the floor. Mina, you are the bestest, most prettiest. Come on, she laughed. You gotta finish or I'm gonna make you say it louder. Most plus ultra girlfriend a guy could ask for, he concluded, feeling like he might just die of embarrassment, a feeling that was becoming more of a constant in his life. Aw, thanks, she giggled again. Now give me a smooch, Buster. No way! He protested as she leaned toward him with a mischievous smile. We're on a job right now. We gotta be professional. No one's looking. That doesn't make it okay! At the end of the day, the three hero agencies went their separate ways, Mina and Kurai sharing a hug before they parted, which the girl was less than satisfied with, but Kurai's stubbornness had won out in the end. Kurai went to visit Gang Orca in the hospital, along with a few other sidekicks that had been wounded in the fighting. He was a little nervous to see the pro hero, despite his words of affirmation back in the warehouse, but in the end, he found his fears to be groundless. Ah, Hikari, the large man said as his intern was admitted into the room. I heard that you made it without any further injuries. The big hero was covered in bloodied bandages, but he looked well enough considering everything they had been through. Yeah, my shoulder got a little messed up, but it should heal before too long, he replied as he looked down at the sling that his left arm rested in. Yes, Banshee informed me of your actions to save the children in the cages, Gang Orca nodded. You did cause the destruction in the first place, but you worked to correct your mistake and saw to it that none of the hostages were harmed. You also gave us a large opening to get into the warehouse without many injuries to our forces. You were reckless, yes, but I believe that the knowledge of when to apply restraint to a situation comes from experience. For your first raid on a villain's headquarters, you persisted admirably. But I did allow a grudge to cloud my judgment for a moment, Kurai said glumly. Despite Mina's reassurances that he was not an ill-intentioned person, he still harbored some guilt over the murderous rage that had possessed him. If I had better control over myself, I doubt you would be lying in a hospital bed right now. Bowing deeply to the hero, Kurai added, I apologize for compromising the operation and causing your injuries, sir. I understand if you wish to send me back to UI. You really need to work on that self-deprecation, Hikari. Gang Orca rumbled, surprising the young man. I told you that you did well, despite your mistakes. I suggest you take my word for it. Yes, sir. Kurai answered as he then straightened up. I just thought that I'd make my apologies anyway. Word of advice, Hikari? Gang Orca chuckled. Live and act honorably, as a hero should, but don't get so caught up in trying to make amends for every single mistake that you ever make. Otherwise, you'll never accomplish what needs to be done. I'll bear that in mind, sir, Kurai promised. Thank you for your wisdom, sir. By the way, the pro hero said as he reached for a phone at his bedside, come stand over here, next to me. Okay, the boy said as he was moved to do what he asked. Coda, catch, Orca said to the sidekick that accompanied Kurai to the hospital. He tossed the phone, which the other man snatched up nimbly before holding up horizontally. This good, boss? Coda asked. Perfect, the big man replied. All right, Kai, smile big time. You're only getting one shot at this. Huh? Later that night, Kurai was getting ready to go to bed when he received a text message that confused him greatly. Midoriya? He muttered as he read the notification. What's happening? He frowned as he opened the message, which only displayed a location, somewhere in Hoshu City. Isn't that where Ida went? He thought. There's not a message attached to this. It must be a pocket text. It was entirely possible, but something about it didn't sit right with him. I hope he's alright. Still, it wasn't like he could do anything about it other than shoot his friend a text asking him what happened. Replying with a simple message that asked his friend if he needed something, he waited a few minutes to see if anything would happen. When his phone neglected to give him an answer, he shrugged and put the phone on his little nightstand, where a new photograph, signed by Gang Orca, had been framed and set to stand. Once he had cleaned up, he changed into his night clothes and rolled into bed. Hopefully he can tell me what that was about in the morning. I'm too tired to figure this out right now. Despite these thoughts, he went to sleep with a troubled spirit, and his rest was a disturbed one, filled with phantoms and unease that left him feeling even more tired the following day. It was at dinner time the next day that Kurai saw it on the news. Endeavor had been recognized for bringing in the hero killer Stain to justice. Apparently the villain had tried to kill a pro-hero called Native, but it ultimately failed when the number 2 hero had arrived on the scene. At first, Kurai was happy that Tensei's attacker had been taken down, even if it was by Endeavor's hand, and he joined the other sidekicks for a moment of revelry to celebrate the removal of a blight on hero kind. Then he saw a map that displayed the area where Stain had been found, a map that matched the place Midoriya had texted him during the previous evening. When he learned the incident also occurred around the same time that his classmate had sent the message, and the media mentioned that there had also been UA students that were nearly taken by the villain as hostages, he started to connect the dots. Ida, tell me you didn't. The last day of his internship, Gang Orca informed Kurai that he would be learning how to handle a media circus as a pro-hero. Word had spread about the capture of the human smuggling ringleaders, and the man was scheduled for an interview that evening, which he insisted that Kurai join him. The boy had balked at that, protesting that he had hardly done anything worth note during the raid, but his supervisor was adamant. As much as some heroes like Eraserhead dislike the media, it is a fact they play a significant part in the hero world, the pro had told him. Taking into account your quirk, your performance in the Hero Festival, and the school that you are scheduled to graduate from, it is extremely unlikely that you will be unable to escape the limelight. Better to start getting experience on how to conduct yourself. But, sir, UA doesn't teach on this subject until late in the year, the boy protested. I'm not even sure that I'm supposed to be on a camera yet. Then think of this as your chance to get ahead of the curve, Hikari, Gang Orca told him. You must always be planning ahead if you want to be a good pro. With that, the two of them had dressed up in their hero costumes and taken a limo to their interview, where the paparazzi were already gathered outside, eager to take pictures and get a comment from the hero and his new intern. Despite his dislike of the media in general, Kurai did his best to appear pleasant for the cameras, as the sidekicks kept the journalists and reporters back. Would it kill you to smile, kid? Banshee asked as she walked alongside him behind Gang Orca. This is your first interview. You gotta make a good impression to the public if you want to get the ball rolling on your career. She was also going to be part of the televised special, and her boss knew this was where she planned to announce her decision to go solo under a new agency. It was a prime opportunity for her declaration, having just helped to capture a gang of very nasty villains would be a solid selling point for the start of her solo career. Sorry, he said as he forced himself to smile into the flashing lights. My family hasn't exactly had the best relationship with the media, so this is a little new for me. Oh yeah, your dad's the head honcho for the police department in Mustafa, right? Yeah, that's right. Well, just do your best to remember your hero as a hero instead of a negative media magnet, okay? Trying. The three of them were seated in a set of comfy chairs that made it difficult to sit up straight in, but they made the effort anyway. They were going to be interviewed by an anchor named Yuri, a young woman that seemed friendly enough to Kurai when they met backstage. The session was set to last an hour, and Kurai hoped that he would be able to make it through that time without incident. When they first went live, the interview focused mostly on Gang Orca and his efforts to disable the smuggling ring, but inevitably the attention became fixated on Kurai, just like he had feared would happen. Now, Mr. Hikari, Yuri began when she turned on him. You're a first year at UA High, yes? That's correct, he managed to answer readily enough. Keep it together, man. Try to ignore the cameras and look at the list like it's just a normal conversation. You've already received some acclaim this year, having been involved with the USJ incident and your performance in the sports festival. Yuri continued with a friendly smile. Has it been difficult to adjust to so much attention? I can only imagine how stressful that would be at your age. He hesitated before answering with the words, I think that after you've had a monster villain come at you full force, everything else just doesn't seem as scary. He even managed to crack a smile while he spoke, which he hoped didn't look too fake. I suppose so. Yuri laughed good-naturedly. It seems like you have a good handle on keeping perspective. My teacher places a lot of emphasis on keeping a level head, even in the most trying of situations. Kurai grinned, relaxing just a little bit. I'm very privileged being able to study at Japan's most prestigious hero academy, and to be interning under a great hero like Gang Orca. You're quite the polite young man, Mr. Hikari, Yuri told him, and she folded her hands in front of her. My sources also tell me that you handled yourself quite well during the raid that we just spoke with Gang Orca about, despite being a first year. Can you tell us anything about what your experiences were like during the battle? This time, Kurai looked to his supervisor before answering the question. When the big man nodded slightly, he turned back to Yuri and said, It was a lot to handle, but I think that this was a lot less stressful than the USJ, since I knew what I would be getting myself into. Indicating Banshee with a small smile, he added, She actually did most of the rescue work while I ran around like a panicked chicken. Hikari does himself too little credit, Gang Orca asserted, surprising Kurai. Without taking his eyes off of Yuri, the large man said,
He saw to it that many children were saved from harm, as well as accounting for a couple of dozen villains that we captured with very little help from myself or my sidekicks. He'll make a great hero one day, and I feel privileged to have had a hand in getting his hero career started. Looking down at the awestruck team now, he smiled slightly and added, I think that it won't be too long before he's one of the greats himself. Yuri nodded, looking impressed as she said, Very high praise from the number 10 hero, folks. I think Mr. Hikari's future in the hero world is looking very bright, which actually reminds me of another question I had. Looking straight at Kurai again, the woman asked, Do you have a name yet, young man? I do. He said with a genuinely broad smile, I am Kai, the guardian hero. Well, you heard it here first, folks, Yuri said with a matching smile. The hero Kai made his debut this week in explosive fashion by helping the number 10 hero in the busting of a major crime syndicate. When we returned from our commercial break, whispers about Gang Orca's best sidekick leaving his side to strike out on her own have been running through the rumor wheel for weeks. But do they have any validity? Stay tuned to find out. As the cameras went dark, Kurai looked over at Gang Orca once more, still surprised by the praise he had received. Seeing it, the pro-hero smiled and told him in a low voice, I've heard some of the teachers talking about you, Hikari. Some of them think that you could be the next symbol of peace after All Might retires. At first I didn't pay much attention to them, but after seeing you in action, I think they might just be onto something. Kurai's words failed him then. To receive such recognition from his favorite hero was like a dream come true, and he felt like anything that he could say would only ruin the moment. So he just smiled, trying to keep himself from jumping up and down like a child excited about getting a gift on Christmas morning. He was still smiling when he returned to class and started to swap stories with the others. Bakugo showed up with a perfectly groomed head and sent him and half the other guys into hysterics. And in that moment, Kurai felt as though all was right as it should be in their lives. He had friends, comrades in arms who knew what it was to face death and still stand with their hands held high. He had a very cute girlfriend that he was growing to adore, despite, and perhaps because of, her eccentric and peppy attitude that so contrasted with his own outlook on life. Then his oldest friend, Tenya Ida, walked into the room with a haunted look on his face, followed by Midoriya and Todoroki, both of them still looking a little banged up from their experience in Hosu. Officially, they had been wounded fighting Nomu monsters, and Stain had tried to attack them, but that hadn't sat right with Kurai. He knew his friend, and he knew how he had a habit of getting tunnel vision whenever he wanted to see justice done. He also knew that Midoriya was loyal to a fault, and would do anything to keep his friend safe. He suspected that Todoroki was the same, even if he wasn't as loud about it as their green-haired classmate. All of these attributes, coupled with Kurai's suspicion about Ida's choice location for their internship, led to one conclusion. There's no way he just happened to be targeted by the villain that took down his brother. When Ida saw him, the haunted look in his eyes was replaced with a friendly spark as he walked over to Kurai's desk with a wave, Midoriya following him with a similar expression on his face. Kurai, I saw your interview the other day, Tenya said as he stopped in front of his friend with a smile. You must have performed well to earn such praise from a high-ranking hero. Kurai forced a stiff smile into his face as he replied, Thanks. I saw you guys on the news too. Must have been pretty crazy getting tangled up with a villain that took Endeavor to subdue. He saw Ida's eyes widen slightly as he realized something was off, so he added, You guys should tell me all about it after class.
Apparently, I'm going to start 2021 off by getting a new recording software because all the ones that I've tried so far just hate me. So, you can't see it, but I have a very irritated scowl on my face, just for visual effect for you guys listening to this. But I hope you guys enjoyed the chapter. Yeah. So many people have no faith in my ability to create a more original character that will react differently to a high-stress situation, so, ha! I proved you wrong.
I'm interested to see what they think.
Yeah, I am too.
Watch them throw tomatoes because they want the crazy psychopath.
Such is the life of an entertainer, right? Right. Given what they...
Hey, at least you're not Kathleen Kennedy this week.
Oh my goodness, yes. I could
It's
go
okay.
on. I could go on about that.
But well,
I'm one of the people throwing tomatoes after all.
On another topic.
How do we always get back to Star Wars or Last Airbender or something?
Always.
Oh my goodness, we have problems staying focused.
Yeah, we do. So this chapter opens with being face to face with.
It's like Needle Mouse is his name. Yeah.
Rat face.
Rat face. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Yeah, I can definitely see how a lot of people would have thought that he would have wasted the guy. I mean, Kurai might have, but again, I wanted there to be parallels between him and Ida's experience with people that they hated. but I didn't want a repetition. And I would like to think that I succeeded in that.
Yeah, I mean,
because he remembered what.
And of course he's tempted. He really wants to. Like, every fiber of his being he's having to fight himself not
to rip this guy's head off. And I think one of the differences one of the glaring differences between him and Ida is that Ida went to Hosu looking for Stain. He went to go fulfill a vendetta. Kurai had his vendetta thrown in his face. And I'm not sure really which one would cause a worse reaction.
Well, I think Ida is suffering, and he made the decision already that he wants revenge. Yeah. He already has been seeking it out intentionally. And I
suppose for Kurai, it's always been a question in the back of his head, like, what would he do if he ever ran into a party responsible. I mean, he already ran into Endeavor, who was partially responsible. There's no two ways about that. And then so soon afterwards, he runs into the guy who was directly responsible for murdering his uncle. But
you see that he is able to make that quick decision. No, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to follow orders, and I'm going to
even. I don't think he really had that moment of clarity. No, it was more of a, oh my goodness, if my uncle could see me now, what would he say?
And you hear all of the truth that's been spoken over him over the years by his friends and loved ones that really has shaped who he is.
That's true.
And that's really what, because he is on the edge.
It's a moment where he could go either way.
And that keeps him...
Well, even his own words come back to smack him in the face. Yeah. Because just like he thinks about what he said at the sports festival. It's like, we should remember all the people that made the sacrifices that they did so we can have the world that we do have now. And he's just like, oh my goodness, I'm a hypocrite. My uncle would not like this.
Yeah, but that's true conviction, and he's able to see that.
Yeah.
And really, hold on to that conviction rather than running the other way with his anger. And he definitely is able to use his anger in a productive manner, but it's after
throws a blast in the guy's face. I'm sure that felt
totally.
good.
But it's after he's made the decision that he's going to do it the right way.
Yeah.
So that justice is served.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a story about a superhero, guys. I mean, I'd like to. I have to branch out at some point and create someone with moral, with higher moral fiber, and something Becca was telling me about, or was reminding me of earlier, is like he kind of came into the school as like kind of having a stick up his butt because he's best friends with Ida. Like they grew up with growing up and doing things by the book. Like that's how they were raised. And yes, everybody has a breaking point. And I'm sure it'll surprise a lot of you to find that no, this was not Kurai's breaking point. The question is whether or not...
no, his troubles are just beginning.
But the question is, will we even see his actual... Everybody has a breaking point, but will we see him hit his throughout the story? I have things planned for him, but I don't know if we'll ever see him hit the point where it's just he's broken down and he just can't go on, and it'll turn him into and whether or not it will turn him into somebody else.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Most of my characters, my original characters that I've created, they've hit a breaking point where it's they become somebody else entirely after hitting it. Kurai has yet to hit that.
And thankfully with Ida, it's typical shonen, power of friendship, we're going to pull you back from that brink of doing something wrong. And, and that's cool. But I think there, and the difference here is
he had to make the decision himself.
This is a really quick,
he's so powerful that it's if he made his decision to go out and turn this guy into dust, who there is going to stop him?
Yeah.
He didn't beat the Nomu that was designed to stop All Might. He was only able to drive it off, but not a lot of heroes could do that. And if Kurai makes up his mind to do something, whether or not his brain will survive the aneurysm that results for him using a greater power is a question. But there's literally nobody in the vicinity, not even Gang Orca, would be able to stop him if he wanted to do something. That's the truth of it. But he chose to do the right thing.
Yeah. So anyway, we had that situation, and then afterward, he kind of has a meltdown, He's like, oh my gosh.
He's like, I shouldn't have even come close to that line.
Mm-hmm.
And Mina kind of has to help him walk him through. It's like, dude, you did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you need to remember that.
But, processing something like that has to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has this immense guilt that he would even consider being vengeful.
Yeah, it's like he's like, that's not the way I was raised. That's not what a hero. Whether or not he was raised a certain way, notwithstanding, if he's aspiring to be a hero, he thinks it's like he's of the mindset is like, these thoughts shouldn't even cross my mind. And Mina kind of helps him walk through. It's like, no, of course they would cross your mind. You're a human being.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, you're trying to be a hero, but you're trying to be a hero, and that's great. But you need to remember that you're a human before you're anything else.
And we're always going to be facing temptation at a certain level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
And not everybody's temptations are the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everyone struggles with different things.
Mina kind of even tells, she's like, look, I obviously can't exactly relate to what you're going through. All I can do is run the what if for myself. It's like, what if this guy had done the same thing to my dad or my mom or my brothers? Then yeah, I'd probably feel the same way. But I think I was kind of having fun writing like a healthy relationship for once.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see them.
She's helping him run healthy coping mechanisms.
Yes. And she's able to be there and be his friend after everything that, they just went through.
Yeah.
And it really helps him with that processing and recovery.
And that bodes well for them being able to like work together like in a professional setting later on. And of course, I had to have Mina be Mina and embarrass the hell out of him a little bit.
That was precious.
That was just kind of like, and then after I wrote it, I was like, oh damn it, I have to read that. I have to read that for the audience. Damn it!
Hey, at least I don't do that stuff to you.
This is true, and I love you so much for it.
Because I know you would be just as embarrassed as Kurai in that situation.
Unlike Kurai, I would stand my ground and be like, no, I'm not. Are you kidding me? No way. No way.
I wanted you to.
No
There's
way.
no way I could get you to do that.
No way.
Anyway.
But it's like there's so much like even after him going through so much stuff, it's like I think it's good to remember that he is. They're still kind of. They're in high school. They're still kind of kids. They're like they gotta have like these comic relief moments, for lack of a better term, or else they're gonna.
It's My Hero Academia. It's gonna get intense, but you gotta have the lighthearted.
Well, that's something that I really like. That I believe Horikoshi is the name of the original author. Correct me if I'm wrong. But something that I like is that he keeps in mind is like they are just kids. Mm-hmm. They are still growing up, and they need moments like that to be like, hey, you went through something crazy, but the world isn't ending. Mm-hmm. It's like the world will continue to spin, and there are ways that you can look and see that things are still good around you. Yeah. And for Kurai, so far, that has been Mina.
Definitely.
She's like I kind of wanted to do their relationship as something different to start with, but it's proving to be a more helpful mechanism for this character than I had honestly originally anticipated.
Yeah, because originally it was just like, oh well, it just makes sense with her more so than the other personalities. So yeah, we're just gonna go with it. But it's kind of been interesting seeing
it's bearing fruit.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing their personalities bounce off of each other and how she's influencing him and how he's kind of influencing her.
Because a lot of my hero stories that I've seen involving Mina being involved in a relationship with somebody else is like. She will be the one to change more than the other person, whoever it is. I think this is one of the first stories I've seen where it's like they influence each other equally, and that's the sign of a good, healthy relationship.
Yeah, because I think you don't ever go into any relationship and come out the same person you were. You're always going to influence each other. Whether or not it
culminates in someone getting married or somebody breaking up. You're not going to be the same person as you were when you started the relationship.
And in the best situations, you sharpen each other and make each other better. Yeah. And then of course, I'm sure everybody's seen a relationship where both people bring out the worst in each other and they're miserable and it's awful and sad. And so it's, the goal really has to be to find that person who compliments you and kind of builds you up and helps you be a better person and better at pursuing those passions that you have. So I think that this is a unique relationship in that way.
Yeah. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. I really am enjoying it.
Cool. So we have this conversation, and then
there's the interview.
Oh, well, he visits Gang Orca first.
He visits Gang Orca. Oh, that's right. He visits him in the hospital.
He gets his fanboy moment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a small moment, but it is an important one. Because we get to. It's kind of funny seeing Deku anytime he interacts with All Might in his hero form. It's he's been apprenticed to this guy for a year. He's been training in private with him.
He gets still his hero though.
It's that's still his superhero. That's he turns into a little fanboy every time he gets to be around him. And I kind of thought it would be important to include at least one moment of that for Kurai.
And of course, he's not as excessive about showing his emotions as Deku is, but he's feeling
in general.
them.
But he's
on the inside. He's like, oh my gosh,
it's my favorite hero acknowledged me. Oh, and he thinks that he's during that's why I was getting toward the interview. It's during the interview, Gang Orca flat out says he's gonna be part of the next generation of the greats. And Kurai's just and I can die happy now.
Yes, jaw drops.
Yup.
I can just see the little anime
sparkle chibi eyes.
Or with Full Metal with little ghost escaping and having to be shoved back into his body.
Shoved back into his body. Yeah. I know exactly which scene you're talking about.
Your soul, brother.
Alphonse Elric doesn't even need a transmutation circle to put his brother's soul back in his body. He's the real Full Metal Alchemist.
My goodness. Anyway, so yeah, we have the interview, which is good for him too because he needs to get over his thing
about his shtick with it.
If he wants to be a hero, I think we talked about this in our.
Gang Orca says it to him. He's there's heroes like Eraserhead that don't like the media, but if you're gonna make the big leagues, it's you're with your quirk, with your aptitude for combat, with your performance in the sports festival, with the school that you're going to, it's kind of unavoidable that you're gonna be. I think it's kind of funny that that Eraserhead is somehow managed to stay out of the limelight so much, given that he did graduate from UA. I mean, graduating from UA, of course, is not an automatic guarantee to becoming a great hero, one that stands out in the spotlights, but I guess Eraserhead is a good hero, but I think he could be in the spotlight if he wanted to be, but I think it's a personal choice of his to kind of fade into the background.
Yeah, and of course they need people who are low profile.
Yeah.
Also, and just like any, if you look at any police force, you're going to need people who are out doing.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, a sting operation would never get anywhere. If everybody knew who. Yeah. If everybody's name was in the paper, then there would be no way to do a covert op. Which I think Kurai feels like he could have gone either way. He doesn't like the media because of what they've done with his family name, but I think he's starting to realize, oh wait, maybe I should try to make the best of what I can. So we had that. We had his fanboy moment. There's a lot to unpack in this chapter. I don't know. What do you think was what do you think was the most important moment for this chapter?
Oh gosh, I want to say it had to be the beginning when he has that aha moment where that just defines who he is as a person and as a hero. And then, of course, everything that comes after is good because, we have the fallout from the situation. But also something that's very key that I'm looking forward to seeing is how is this going to affect his relationship with Ida? Because he figured it out. He knows his friend.
And he did the
math.
He did the math. He connected the dots. He's like, oh, there's no way. There's no way he just happened to, because he gets the text from Midoriya. It's like, oh. And then, oh, wait, this Matt is, he starts connecting all the dots. Is there's no way Ida just happened to be there.
Yeah. And so he's going to have a talk with his best friend. And he's pretty ticked, clearly. And so it'll be interesting to see how this pans
Well, their
out.
paths have diverged in a sense because Kurai did the right thing. Like, and he's had years to sit on this, hatred of this guy.
And already, we already have had some tension between the two of them because Ida was angry at him about the relationship thing. But here, Kurai's able to show, I was able to work with her and do the right thing. Meanwhile, you're over here on your high horse, and don't get us wrong, we love Ida.
Yes.
But
I am not someone who hates any Ida.
Definitely.
I'm not trying to...
He's honestly one of our favorite characters.
Oh, yeah, I love the guy. He's great.
But it's, if you have to think about it, if this is someone you've known your whole life and you expect better from them, you would probably be angry at him too. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how this affects the relationship because Kurai's already pretty hurt about the way Ida handled him deciding to be in a relationship. And so, they were able to resolve it. Yeah. But
there's still, even if they've resolved it on the surface, there's still some feelings. They're still feeling a little raw about it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just go for Kurai. I'm sure Ida's feeling feeling a little stung about it.
Oh, definitely.
Especially given that he lost the bet.
And he likes being right.
Yes. Ida loves being...
He doesn't do well when he's not in the right.
Yes. Gets a little butthurt about it.
And of course, Midoriya is the kind of friend who's going to be like, oh man, bro, it's okay, I forgive you,
Midoriya's all about the... Dude, he forgave the guy who told him to go kill himself at the before they even had a chance to...
And that's why Deku is best boy.
Yes,
yeah,
Deku...
I love him, but...
well, there's a reason that he is All Might's heir over anybody else that he ever was presented with. It's like, oh, you should think about giving one for all to this guy, or maybe to this guy.
But of course, not everyone's going to handle it the same way as Deku.
Exactly. And that's the point of it. That's the point of this chapter. And I am really trying hard to hold myself back from bragging on my character, but I think this is a moment where I have to say I think I did a good job in creating a character who, despite being presented with much the same strenuous circumstances, if not more so, he in the end chose to do the right thing. But now the question is, what is he going to do when his best friend, the guy who he was raised to have almost the same set of morals, didn't. He failed to uphold their ideal of heroism.
So we're gonna have to see if he can really forgive him the way that, because Deku, it's less personal. It's like, oh yeah, you're my buddy, I get it, you're going through some crazy stuff, I'm here for you, man. But with oh my gosh, my brain's not working. With our dude,
he managed to do the right thing.
Yeah.
There is the question of if he wasn't in the relationship with Mina, would he have done the right thing?
Oh, I think he would have.
Yeah, I think he would have, but I think that's something that he's going to question himself. Leading up to coming events, but don't worry, guys. I will not keep you waiting long on this whole confrontation because, as I'm sure you could tell by the end of the chapter, him and Ida are going to have a little talk about it pretty soon. Yeah. So, I think that's where we can end it, right? I think there was a lot to unpack with that.
Yeah. That was a lot longer than usual, but I think that there's just a lot going on.
Well, that was actually a shorter chapter than usual, but there was just so much in it that I felt like if I kept going with it, it was gonna... Yeah, there wasn't much fluff in it, but I felt like if I kept going in that chapter, it was gonna be anything else that I unpacked was just gonna be kind of overshadowed or becoming... Or take away from the importance of what's already been said.
I think you're getting better at that since Red Swordsman, because there's some chapters in Red Swordsman where it's like, oh, it's over. No, it's still going.
I don't give them a break.
Going. No. Okay.
And then I just leave you guys totally worn out by the end of it.
But so I'm trying to better at pacing yourself with these chapters, even when you get excited.
So I'm very excited. So the next chapter will kind of be an epilogue to the internship arc, and then so to give you guys a little bit of a map, right after that comes the final exam arc, which is going to be 2 chapters, I want to say, because it's a good and short arc, and I think you guys will be interested to see because everybody gets paired up with somebody.
That's right.
Yeah, everybody gets paired up with somebody to go through these tests, and I'm interested to see if you guys can guess and see who I might have already said who his partner is, but let's see if you guys can guess who it is before it comes about.
I bet you they'll guess. They're gonna know.
Probably, and it will address an issue that has been brought up
ongoing.
And ongoing.
Hey, they're gonna guess it immediately now. Oh,
no, you know, I already did drop a big hint, so I won't say it myself, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you guys think of his partner that he's gonna have for the final exam, and I'm also very much looking forward to seeing your reactions when you all realize, hey, I'm not just a one-trick pony. Wait, there's more.
Can you tell he's a little salty?
Just a little bit.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you very much for your reviews. Thank you for listening to the chapter. I hope it was what you were expecting, especially... no, I hope it was more than you were expecting. What am I saying? I don't know. Anything else that we think we can...
I don't think so.
Nope. Well, once again, thank you guys so much for being an audience for the story that I'm having a lot of fun with. And let's just go into 2021 hoping that it's a better year than the last one, right? Thanks so much. You guys have yourselves a plus ultra first weekend of 2021. Catch you later.